Islam 101.
Welcome to another episode of Islam 101, and I'm your host, Abu Usamah Althahabi. Today we're going to continue our discussion concerning the halal and the haram, inshaAllah. We have now arrived to the fourth point concerning these issues of what needs to be understood concerning the permissible things and the impermissible things in the religion. And as we mentioned at the conclusion of our last episode, the fourth point is that everything, the origin of everything in this dunya, everything in this life that we're living in, the origin of everything is that it is pure and that it is permissible. Everything is pure and it is permissible to eat, to wear. You can eat whatever you want to eat, drink whatever you want to drink, wear whatever you want to wear in terms of color or material, sit the way you want to sit. Everything is permissible until and unless a proof from the Quran, an ayah from the Quran, or authentic hadith from Rasulullah comes and makes it impermissible. This is taken from a number of verses of the Quran. One of those verses is the statement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. It is Allah, He is the one who has created for you people everything that is in the earth. So Allah, in creating everything in the earth, He made it clear in this ayat and a number of other ayat, a number of verses, that everything is permissible for us. And because it's permissible, it is clean and it's useful and it's wholesome. So this point is a very important point because it goes to show and it helps us to understand that you don't necessarily have to memorize everything that is permissible or impermissible in the religion. You don't have to be a hafiz or one who memorized all of the Quran. You don't have to be an individual who has memorized all of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In addition to that, the question was presented to us from our panel: what if something that was not there during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is introduced now? How do we know if it's halal? How do we know if it's haram? There's no verse stating it necessarily. How do we know? Well, if there's no text saying that that particular thing is impermissible, then we take it for granted that it is permissible, unless it has some qualities or it has some properties that are similar to something that has been spoken about or mentioned in our religion that is impermissible. So this point here helps you to understand that sometimes if we were to get and grasp a good foundation concerning the qawaid of fiqh, the principles, especially the principles of usul fiqh, if a person were to understand some of these principles, it will relieve him from the responsibility of knowing a lot of verses of the Quran, memorizing and being acquainted and knowing a lot of the statements of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. The next point that we want to mention concerning the issue of the halal and the haram is that everything that is halal, it is pure. It is pure and it's wholesome. And whatever is made haram in the religion, impermissible, is made haram because it is either harmful or is dirty and filthy. And then we have those things that have some good in them and they have some evil in them. It has some good purity in it or benefit in it, and then at the same time, simultaneously, it has some harm or some dirt in it, some filth in it. Well, in that case, if the benefit outweighs the filth and the harm, then it's going to be halal. And if the harm and the filth outweighs the benefit, then it's going to be haram. So the next point, point number four. Everything that is halal is pure. Everything is pure. And everything that is haram, the thing that is haram, it is haram because it is filthy or it is harmful. They came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they asked him Ya Rasulullah, what is halal for us? What has Allah made permissible for us? And Allah revealed a number of ayat in the Quran. And He said, tell them what is permissible for them are the good things, the tayyibat, those things that are good and wholesome. Water, zamzam water, orange juice, karkadeh, eggs, all of those things are from the tayyibat, the good things that are permissible. And in contrast, those things that are bad for you, or those things that are dirty, they're filthy, or they're harmful, like swine, the dead carrion, those types of animals that if you were to eat them, they're going to bring some type of harm to the body or to the individual. So that is the other point. Before going on to the last 2 points, inshallah, we just want to make sure the brothers have any questions or comments concerning these last 2 points. Everything in the dunya, everything in this life that is halal because it's pure. And whatever is haram because it's dirty, it's filthy, or it's harmful. And the other point, everything is permissible in the earth for us to eat, to wear, to drink, except those things that there's some text, a dalil that comes to make it impermissible. Do you brothers have any questions concerning it? Ahmed.
I have a question, a comment. The question is, some people bring tradition into halal and haram. So does tradition affect halal and haram?
Concerning the urf, the traditions of the people and the culture of the people can make something halal or haram. But it has a secondary ability to do that, not in and of itself. We mentioned concerning the masadir of a tashri'. We mentioned that the sources of legislation, what makes things halal, haram, the Quran, the Sunnah, the ijma', as well as the statement of the companions and qiyas. So it is with the Quran and the Sunnah that qiyas is allowed to make something permissible. It is with the Quran and the Sunnah that ijma' is allowed to make something permissible or haram from the Sunnah. Similarly, it is a secondary issue that the urf of the person or the people, the customs of the people, make something permissible or impermissible. But it is conditional. It has conditions. It has conditions. The most important condition, number one, is that the custom cannot go against the religion. If the custom goes against the religion, then it's rejected. The religion is what makes halal and haram. For an example, in certain parts of Africa, it is the custom for the woman to walk around with her upper extremities not covered, not concealed. When she comes into the religion, she says, I want to practice my culture and walk around like that. We're going to say no. The religion told the woman to cover up herself and to conceal herself. So here the custom is rejected altogether. But let's say that the custom of the particular group of people was that whenever a woman gets married and she's 21 years old or younger, then the boy has to give a dowry. The man has to give a dowry of $5,000. For an example, that's the custom of those particular people. Al-Islam is not against that particular custom. Al-Islam would allow that. We're not going to say it's wajib or it's something that he has to do, but we can't look at those people as being criminals. We can't say that those people are against the religion. We can't say that those people are making things unduly necessary, because that's the custom. In Al-Islam, when the person wants to travel, we are allowed the rukhsa or the concession. We can shorten our prayer. Well, Prophet Muhammad never taught us and never left a specific distance by which we travel when we shorten our prayer. He was going to make the Hajj, and he traveled from Medina to a place called Dhul Hulayfa. That's only about 4 or 5 miles from Medina. It's a short distance. And yet, he shortened his prayer when he stayed in that particular place. And he never told us, what's the difference you can shorten your prayer? So what did the scholars of Islam say? They said, whatever those people in that particular locale, in that particular time, in that particular place, whatever they consider to be a trip or rihla or a safar, whatever they consider to be a trip, then that's the time when the person can shorten his prayer. So that's a case where the urf or the customs of the people, it makes something in the religion halal, or it can make something in the religion haram. It can make something in the religion known. Now, any more questions? Akhi Yasir.
The harmfulness of the haram, can we feel it upon our spirits or just upon our bodies?
Concerning the harm of the haram, the evil effects of the haram, can we feel it in our spirit, or is it something that's just in our bodies? Eating swine may hurt you. You may get tapeworms and other issues take place inside of the body. And sometimes it doesn't even happen. It doesn't even harm you sometimes. One person can drink khamr, he can drink intoxicants, and he never suffers from cirrhosis of the liver. As a matter of fact, he may even claim, I get benefit from it. It helps me to digest my food. It helps me to become creative. It helps me to open up the creative juices, to paint, to write, and so forth and so on. And that may be true. Sometimes it may not even hurt you in your body. But as it relates to your spirit and your religion, the haram always hurts, whether you recognize it or you don't recognize it. Let's take, for an example, the dua, the supplication. The man traveled, and Rasulullah described his situation. His hair was disheveled, and his clothes were dirty, and he was in the need of Allah answering his dua. The supplication of the traveler is accepted. The supplication of the one who is calling on Allah with sincerity is accepted. But this particular man, even though he was traveling, even though he was sincere, he was making dua, and he was asking Allah over and over, Ya Rabb, Ya Rabb, making al-ilhah, asking with shiddah. And yet the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how is Allah going to answer his supplication when his food is haram, his drink is haram, the clothes that he's wearing is haram, and he's being nourished with what is haram, what is not permissible? How is it that his supplication is going to become answered? So that's one way in which we clearly see how spiritually and religiously falling into what is haram will help you. In addition to that, ikhwani, there's an authentic hadith that the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you see that a man has been given and Allah continues to give to him in the dunya, he makes things easy for him, gives him more money, makes the life easy for him, and the man is doing the haram, but still he's receiving a lot, it seems, it appears. He said, know for a surety that that is only istidraj. Allah has only given him enough rope so that he's going to hang himself eventually. He's getting what he wants to have in the dunya easily. He's a criminal, but he has the nicest house. He's a criminal and he's making more money. He's a criminal and the people are still respecting him more and more. No catastrophe seems to befall him. Rasulullah said, know for surety that this is only istidraj from Allah. Allah has just given him more rope so that he can destroy himself. When he dies and he stands before Allah and he has to answer for what he did and what he didn't do, he's not going to be able to say anything because the argument has been established upon him. But for most people, the haram also bothers you in your body as well. For most people, it's going to have a negative effect and make a negative impact. We're going to stop here, inshallah, and then we'll come back and we will complete this particular topic, inshallah. And we look forward to seeing you in our second half of this particular episode.
Islam 101.
In your standpoint of view, are there specific or certain criteria to choose your spouse or a partner, to marry or not to marry? Maybe that's the question. Do we revise the quality of performance of our treatment between the family members as fathers or mothers? As they say usually, it's not what you say, it's how would you say it. Wouldn't you like to be a good storyteller for your kids? Neurobiologically speaking, child abuse and emotional trauma causes scars in the brain of the child, and this might be not easily healing. What's the exact job description of a father? Is it clothing, payments, and feeding, or other important things? Well, I think the job description of a father is merely giving him love and care, self-confidence, giving him sense of security, and checking for the points of strengths to stress on them. What about potty training and its planning? Oh yeah, actually, it's a state, it's a condition. Fatherhood is not a body or a person, it's a state. Are you a good or skillful designer for the policy and the long-term plans of the life of your kids? Join us every Wednesday for family issues.
Islam
Welcome back to Islam 101. I'm your guest, your host, Abu Usamah Althahabi, and we're dealing with the issue of the haram and the halal in Islam. Our brother Ahmed, he has a question that he wants to present, inshallah, so we'll deal with the question before we get on to the last 2 points.
I actually had a comment before the question that I called a saying of a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, the Prophet ﷺ forbid us about something that we thought it's beneficial for us, but the order of the Prophet ﷺ is more beneficial. So that pertains what you were saying before about that haram is harmful and filthy. My question is, some people think that they can get rid of what's haram by selling it. For example, my grandma, she had pictures of that she hangs on the wall, pictures of things that has a spirit. So I told her, Grandma, this is haram, we can't have it on the wall. She said, all right, we can sell it. So what is the ruling pertaining to that?
May Allah bless you, Akhi, for your comment, first of all, because that is true. We may see something that has some benefit in it in our small minds, but what the Prophet brought and said is more beneficial. And also, may Allah bless you for taking care of your grandmother and fulfilling your rights of teaching her and giving her advice. As it relates to selling what is haram, in the religion of Islam, it's not permissible. It's not permissible because of a number of reasons, very quickly. The first reason is that we mentioned the point. Things are haram because they're filthy and because they bring harm to people. So how are you going to take something and give it to someone else, give him something something that was going to be harmful to him, something that's going to be dirty and filthy and is going to harm him? We've been ordered and commanded in the religion of Islam to cooperate with each other on righteousness and on fearing Allah. And we've been prohibited from cooperating with each other by helping each other to do oppression and to do sins. Also, it's not permissible in our religion to do this because Prophet Muhammad told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if Allah makes something haram, He makes selling that particular thing haram. And this is one of the terrible manifestations that we see from our Muslim brothers who come to America, who come to Europe. They leave their countries looking for a better life. So they go to these countries where the people are non-Muslims, and they open up stores. And when you go to the non-Muslim countries, the haram is the norm. At least in the Muslim countries, there's a lot of haram going on, but still, it's not necessarily the norm. People are trying to deal with only the halal. When our brothers come to our countries, we find them being the ones, and they're foremost, uppermost, in selling khinzir, in selling khamr. They're the ones who are selling intoxicants. We're in the community, like myself, in the middle of the African-American community with all of the social ills and social problems that my people have. We're in our community calling the people to al-Islam, to that religion which will give them life. As Allah gave us life, brought us to the religion, helped us to know the difference between right and wrong. So on one hand, we're trying to call people to Islam. On the other hand, the Muslims are cooperating with evil, and they're selling the same people intoxicants and poisons. Even worse than that, now, with the new generation Muslims, they're even selling drugs now. So it's not permissible. And the Prophet ﷺ cursed some of the people who went before our nation. He cursed them because why? Allah made certain things haram upon them, impermissible upon them. So what did they do? They didn't use it for themselves, but they sold it to other people. And this can be found in the Bible, where the people from the children of Israel, Bani Israel, they, in so many verses of the Old Testament, where it was said, you cannot eat this particular thing, but you can sell it to the Gentile, to the non-Hebrew individual. You cannot sell the Israeli, you cannot sell the Israelite a house that has a problem, and you know it has a problem, but you can sell it to the individual who is a Gentile. This is not our religion. And that was mentioned in the Quran, that the people during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to say, we do not have any responsibility towards the ones who are illiterate, the ummiyin. We don't have to have any responsibility to them. Muhammad and his people, we're not from them. So if we sell them what is not permissible, we sell them what is harmful, it's okay. This is not the religion of al-Islam. The Muslim has to be upright and he has to be fair and just, whether he's dealing with Muslims or whether he's dealing with non-Muslims. Nick, you have a question?
No.
How about you,
I have
sir?
a question, yeah. Usually we cannot control our thoughts. So, for example, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about something. I'm analyzing something in my mind. And I cannot change it easily. So is there any sin which can be done by thinking? Is there any haram thoughts?
Again, this particular point that Nick is bringing to the table is connected to the issue of love that we mentioned from an angle of the person not having the ability sometimes to control who he loves and who he doesn't love. Rasulullah loved Aisha more than everyone else. Does that mean he was oppressive, that he didn't love the other people from his family members, his wives, on the same level as Aisha? That's something that he can't control. There's a weak hadith, it's not authentic, but it proves this point that when he used to divide his time, he would say, "Oh Allah, this is my division according to what I control. Her day is Monday, her day is Tuesday, her day is Wednesday, her day is Friday. But don't hold me accountable for that thing that I can't control," meaning I can't control the fact that I love this individual more. That's not an authentic hadith, but the concept is true. You will never be able to deal justly between women, even if it was your ardent desire. Meaning, you will never be able to love them equally because a person doesn't control that. A person cannot control loving his mother for being his mother, but he doesn't love the disbelief. And that does not conflict with the concept of al-wala wal-bara, that our enmity is with the non-Muslims and our allegiance is for and with the Muslims. We can't love their disbelief though. This is a similar issue. A person cannot control sometimes what comes into his mind. He's a human being. He cannot control the wiswas or the whispers of a shaitan. He can't control it. He can compel it, he can subdue it, he can do something about it, but he can't control it. It's going to come to all of us. So the Prophet told us what? He says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as long as the person doesn't speak about it or he doesn't act upon it, then he's not accountable. He's not held accountable. As long as he doesn't speak about it and he starts to mention it unnecessarily, maybe he needs to tell the scholar or he wants to get some advice from someone. So he says, I get these thoughts like this or this. He should try to avoid getting into the details, but he may need to do that. So as long as he doesn't speak about it and as long as he doesn't execute it, then it's not halal, it's not haram, the fact that those thoughts come to his mind. But what he could do is seek refuge in Allah from that. He can read the Quran. He could preoccupy himself with something from the religion of Islam, from the forms of worship, and then it'll go away.
But if he himself chooses to think about that thing that is haram?
As for that individual making a concerted effort, he is making a takalluf, and he's actually making himself think about that, then those evil thoughts are a part of what he is held accountable for. He is held accountable for that, and Allah knows best. Now we go on to the last 2 points. Point number 5, inshallah, concerning the halal and the haram, very quickly. The halal in al-Islam yughni an al-haram. The halal is enough to the point where you don't need what is haram. The halal is enough. So if the people took the halal, the permissible things, they're not in need of what is haram. For an example, zina, adultery and fornication. That's dirty and it's harmful. So we have what is permissible, which is more than enough. He can get married to 1, 2, 3, or 4 women. So the halal is always enough. Another example of that is, instead of a person drinking intoxicants, he can drink the good things from the earth. He can drink soda, milk, Zamzam water. He can drink orange juice. The halal is always enough. Another thing as it relates to the aqidah or the ideology that I want to share with the Muslims. There's that Muslim who puts around his arm the tamima to protect him from the evil eye. The talisman to protect him from the evil eye. He may have it and it may even have the Quran in it, written on it. But most of them just have some words written by some charlatan, and it's the religion of hocus pocus, the crystal ball religion. We say, instead of using that tamima or that talisman, it's better that you just make dua to Allah. It's better that you ask religious people, make dua for you. It's better that you learn the dua, the supplications, and you learn the Quran to protect you. It's better that you make ruqya over yourself than to do that. The halal is always better than what is haram. Those people who decide their affairs and they make decisions based upon frivolous issues, If the bird flies that way, I'll do it. If the bird flies to the left, I won't do it. If it's a white bird, I'll do it. If it's a black bird or a crow, I won't get married. If the first car that I see at the stop sign or the red light ends with an even number, I'll invest. If it's an odd number, I won't invest. This is like making divination with arrows. Al-Islam, pulling out an arrow to decide, should you do this or should you do that? That's haram. What is better than that is for an individual to make al-istikhara. For the individual to make al-istikhara. To make the salatul istikhara where he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his dua and in those 2 rak'ah that he prays that Allah guides him to what is correct. So anything that you are doing that is haram, we won't have excuses in front of Allah yawm al-qiyamah if you're not being compelled to do it. When you're asked, why did you do it? Why didn't you do it? No one is going to be able to legitimately say, I did it because of this or that. Because in the halal is that which is better. And another point connected to this is the halal is more opulent. If you took all of the things that are halal in the world and you placed them in this cup, they're going to fill the cup up. Whereas if you took all of the things that are haram, it's not going to fill the cup up because the halal is more in its opulence. And that's from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last point that we want to make, inshallah, concerning the halal and the haram is the impermissibility of using tricks and deceiving and playing games in the haram, making it tahayul. At-tahayul. There were some people from the children of Israel in the past who they used to have to observe the Sabbath. On Saturday, they were requested and commanded not to work, not to do any physical activity. So those people who knew this ruling, they would take their nets and they would throw the nets out Friday night. And then the fish will get caught in the net Friday night and Saturday. They'll come back Sunday and they reel the nets in and they bring the fish in and they say, we weren't fishing. This is a tahayul, playing games to make haram halal or to make halal haram. Muslims do this as well. The ayat in the Quran, for an example, it says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا riba. Don't eat riba. Don't eat usury. The person says, well, I'm not going to eat it, but I'll invest in my house. I get a mortgage. I'm not eating it. This is playing a game with the religion of Al-Islam. It's playing games. We're going to bring this episode to a close now concerning the halal and the haram in Al-Islam. And we've completed this series, inshallah. And we hope to see you in the new and upcoming series concerning Islam 101, in which we're dealing with discussing some of the basic and fundamental principles in the religion of Al-Islam. May Allah give everyone guidance and light. We hope to see you in the future episodes, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Islam. Islam.